Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're going to be doing episode number 7 of I Build Your Teams, the series where I build my viewers' teams into the best teams possible for my team unlimited, whatever y'all want to play. Before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 15,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day, and I would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. We're going to start off with this first team today, which comes in from my boy Cole Freddy, and he has 175,000 MT. Says he really wants Paul George, but he's nervous till he broke. And I look at this team and I like it. I don't love it, but I like it. I don't think Paul George is worth that much MT with the way your team currently looks. I think your shooting guard position is strong enough, and I think your small forward position, just throw Emerald Robert Covington at your backup small forward, and it's strong enough where you're fine. The positions where you're a little bit weaker are point guard, power forward, and center. Your shooting guard and small forward position are fine. I would go Steve Smith and Dominique personally, but if you want to go Steve Smith and Clyde, that's fine. Kawhi and Robert Covington at the 3 is fine. I like Paulo, and Marcus Gasol is fine as well. Jabari Smith and Jack Sikma I don't love. Lauri Markkanen I like better than Jack Sikma. He's not bad. And then Jabari Smith I would like to replace, but he's not horrible either. That 175K though I feel like is better suited to be used at the center position or the point guard position. For me, when I look at the point guards that you could buy right now, is Baron Davis worth the MT is basically the question, because I think Baron Davis is pretty much the only point guard that is auctionable for a reasonable price that is worth buying for your team right now. And the answer is I don't know. Another guy, I know this is a little bit of a weird thing to recommend, but the Pro Pass might actually be a good purchase for you. I don't know if you like to, if you're fully no money spent or whatever the case may be, but $9.99 for a Dwayne Wade, he would be a huge addition to your squad, and he's not going to cost any MT, I know, but you're going to get a bunch of MT, a bunch of VC, and a bunch of other stuff throughout the season just by leveling up. And then D Wade is going to be, honestly, or D Mitch, probably the best point guard on your team. He and D Wade, him over Dumars though, big upgrade there. Center position is where I'd focus on with your MT. Serge Ibaka, number 1, he's a good buy. Cliff Robinson in Clutch Time Online is a great grindable card that you can reward yourself with, that you could earn. Marcus Gasol, Lauri Markkanen, both usable options. I would take Sikma out of the lineup if possible, as well as Jabari Smith. Paulo Banchero is great at the power forward position. If you want to spend a chunk of MT and buy a card, and we're not talking about the grindable Cliff Robinson type or Bob Love type, Jaren Jackson Jr. is the best buyable one for you. I think 112K MT for him would be fine. You could run Paulo Jaren, and then off the bench, you could go grind that Wes Unseld and run Wes Unseld, Marcus Gasol as your backup 4 and 5. Have Lauri Markkanen last 3 if you need a little bit more speed, because Lauri's a little quicker than Mark, but not as much defense. So that's probably what I would do in terms of your bigs, would be go Paulo Jaren and then grind out that Wes Unseld, and then have Marcus Gasol or Lauri as your backup big right now and start working towards Cliff Robinson. That's probably where I would go with your team. And I think if you go that direction, plus maybe pick up D Mitch, your team's gonna be looking really good. Second squad comes in from Wade Cooks. He's got 970,000 MT. This is a flex squad to a certain extent. Magic and D-Book, PG, Jaren, and Shaq. I like that you got D-Book next to Shaq, because without D-Book, you don't really have a playmaker in your team. Magic and Paul George are fine tertiary, secondary playmakers, but neither of them are primary ball handlers. If you expect them to be your primary ball handler, you're gonna be disappointed. D-Book can be that primary ball handler, and the fact of the matter is you surrounded him with size and defense on the court, and I'm cool with that. I love your starting lineup. Your bench is good too. Kyrie, MJ, Pippen, AK, and Wilt. It's a good team. It's a really good team. I almost think right now your best bet is Giannis. 970,000 MT. You're gonna just grind Steve Smith, grind Sean Bradley, or even buy them if you want. It's gonna be, even if you bought them, it's 140,000 MT between the 250,000 MT maybe, and you're still at 800 and some odd thousand MT if you bought them. But either way, Giannis is probably the best bet for this team, because Giannis upgrades your starting lineup. I would go Giannis and Jaren as your starting 5, your front court, and then pick whoever you prefer between Wilt and Shaq and run them at the backup 5. That's what I would do. Then whoever comes out next to Giannis could also make your team on Monday, but until then, I think this is the type of team that I'm just holding, and then I'm getting Giannis on Monday, because this is a flex squad. You have the MT sitting there as well. I would just go for Giannis. That's my main recommendation right now. Next squad comes in from Mark. He says he can free up more MT to get to about 150,000 MT. Says he's trying to figure out his 3 and his 4 through 5 to figure out where to put AD. So Kyrie, MJ, D Wade, Donovan Mitchell, Dominique, Clyde. You have Tyrese Maxey, which means you should have Steve Smith, or you will at least have. Get Steve Smith. Steve Smith plays at your shooting guard. He should be your backup shooting guard. You can go Kyrie, MJ, and then you could go whoever you prefer between D Wade and Donovan Mitchell and Steve Smith as your shooting guards. That can be your point guard, shooting guard, and then you can have your other point guard between D Wade and Donovan Mitchell, whoever you prefer to put last 3. You can have them as your point guard in the last 3. Your 3s aren't great. Your 4s are fine. Your 5s are okay. Joe Smith and Draymond would be the 2 that I would run at your 4s. That's how I would run your 4s. Your 5s, I would go Anthony Davis, and Giannis, probably. If you could find a way to get Jaren Jackson Jr., he might be worth the MT to upgrade because I think he's definitely a lot better than Giannis, but I don't know if it's worth it. Small forward position is probably your best position to upgrade. To get a great small, Andre Karolinko or Scottie Pippen is probably your best buy. Honestly, I would just rearrange your 4s and 5s, go Joe Smith AD, and then Draymond Giannis off the bench, and then figure out your shooting guard position by putting Steve Smith in there and picking one of Wade or D Mitch to be your backup point guard. Then your small forward position is the position that needs the biggest upgrade on your team, and Andre Karolinko would probably be the guy that I'd recommend. Throw him at your starting 3 off the bench. You could bring Dominique at that point, and you'll be fine at that point. Just keep grinding. Keep saving your MT, and hopefully we'll start to get some more cards, continue to get more cards soon, maybe some more grindable things in Season 2 soon as well. But next comes my boy Dcoms. I love Dcoms. 1 mil. He says he's going to have Wilt and Shea this week. Wilt and Shea both make this lineup. I don't know if it's just me, man, but like he's got Kyrie, he's got B-Roy, he's got D-Mitch, he's got D-Book. He needs defense off the bench. A little bit because D-Mitch and D-Book, neither of them are elite defenders, and even Tatum isn't really a truly great lock. I think Andre Karolinko is probably the best buy for this team in addition to Paul George, maybe. AK and Paul George, and then I don't know if I would lock in for Giannis. I don't know if I'd lock in for Magic, depending on it, because you already have Jaren, AD, Shaq, and Bosh. Maybe just buy Paul George, buy Andre Karolinko to give you another guard who plays more defense. He's just a better Brandon Roy, basically, in my opinion, is what Paul George kind of gives you, because he's also a great slasher with a great release, but he defends a lot better and has more size than Brandon Roy. That could be an upgrade there, and then you could either bring B-Roy off the bench next to D-Mitch or something like that, and then I would get AK at the small forward position, take Tatum out of the team, but Tatum will work too if you want to keep him as well. Shea can be your starting point guard once you get him. Once you get SGA, I would say SGA, and then is SGA, PG, AK the best 1 through 3 that you can have right now outside of having KD? Maybe. I don't know. I think Paul George will be an addition, and then obviously Wilt and SGA will find their way into the squads this week. You don't need to do anything, though. You could just get Wilt and SGA, start them too, and bring Kyrie and Shaq off the bench as your guards and as your guard center, and then you'd be totally fine. Like, I don't think you're going to be in a position of need by any means with this type of team. You're going to be totally fine. And I know Dcoms is a great player as well, so he should have no problems having success with this squad. But if I was going to upgrade anything, it would be Paul George and Andre Karolinko. Next squad today is going to... Okay, give 1 second, y'all. All right, next team, sorry about that, comes in from Bambo, and he has 290,000 MT, D-Wade and Kyrie as his PGs. Shooting guard position I don't love as much. Small forward position is fine. Kawhi and Rocco. Jaren and Paulo at the 4s is great. Marc Gasol and Ibaka at the 5s. I'm going to be honest, you have Blake Griffin in your last 3. He's better than Marc Gasol. In my personal opinion, if you like Marc Gasol and the defense that he gives you, feel free to keep running him. For my play style personally, I would be going Blake Jaren and then Paulo Ibaka as my front court. I would start Blake, actually. I think Blake is really good. I kind of like him. He's super fast, which is something that I really like about him, and I feel like at power forward, defense is less important, and Jaren's an elite defensive center anyway. It gives you way more speed and athleticism on your court, which I'm a fan of, and Blake has high vertical, high strength as well, which helps him out a lot defensively. For me, Blake is just a guy you can plug into your lineup who's going to improve it already. Put him in the power forward and then Jaren at the center. Outside of that, Zach LaVine is a great offensive card, but you're pairing him next to a great offensive card already in Kyrie. I think you need a better all-around shooting guard option than Zach LaVine, a guy who's going to play a little bit more defense if you're going to play Kyrie as your backup point guard, which I love Kyrie. I think he's awesome offensively, but you need another defensive shooting guard, so you have 290,000 MT. This is where you could spend a ton of MT and go get a Paul George if you want, or you could go a little bit cheaper. A Dr. J would be a good option. Somebody like that might be somebody that I would actually consider. There isn't really another free grindable shooting guard right now that's super good. If you have a Dominique in your collection, he could be a good temporary shooting guard option as well, or something along those lines. But for me, I think getting another shooting guard with some defense, whether that's a more expensive card like a PG or a Jordan, again, up to you. If I was going to pick one, I'd go PG, or somebody who's a little cheaper like a Dr. J, or a really budget option, a free card like a Dominique or a Clyde if they're already in your collection. If you like the LaVine Kyrie backcourt, go for it. For me personally, kind of like with Marc Gasol, not my favorite. I don't love the lack of defense in your backcourt off the bench. I think that could definitely hurt your squad. So for me, that may be another swap to consider. Or you could even just swap Wade and Kyrie. Just start Kyrie with Steve Smith and bring a defensive PG with Wade off the bench with more of an offensive guard. If you want to run LaVine, just do that. That'll make your team flow a little better. Second to last team comes in from Nate. He says he's struggling with his bench. He's got SGA, PG, AK, Bosh, and Wilt. That's like one of the best 5-man lineups that you could probably build. Off the bench, I like his team. He does have a lot of floor spacing off the bench, which I'm a fan of, and he does have Magic as well. I think we need a couple of like little bit better playmaking shooting guards. You have B. Roy and Carmelo. I think Magic might be better to run than Wade off the bench, especially since you have all 5 guys able to shoot as well. I might consider swapping AK and Pippen because of, or even Bosch and Pippen, and then putting AK at the 4 to start and Pippen at the 3 to start. Because the thing is, AK at the 4 or Bosch at the 4, whoever is going to give you a lot more defense on the interior than Pippen is at the 4. Pippen will get attacked at the 4 by bigger power forwards. He's going to struggle a bit on the boards. For me, I think having a little more size and defense interior-wise at the 4 off your bench would be better. And you can do that without buying any new cards. I just think it requires a little bit of lineup reorientation. Whether you prefer Scotty and Bosch and your starters at AK off the bench, or Scotty and AK starting and Bosch off the bench. Either one, I think that'll work great. And then I would probably play Magic over Wade off the bench. I just think that that's the best way to do this. Your squad is great, and I'm assuming you're probably saving your MT for Giannis as well, because you already locked in for Magic, which makes me think you're probably going for Giannis. I would say this is a team where you don't really need to pay anything. It's just about personally rearranging a couple things to make them fit and flow a little bit better, but this is another great squad. And then the last team today comes in from Peyton. He's got 40,000 MT, says Steve Smith will be home soon. Not sure he makes his team, grinded for Bosch and playing game modes for level 40 Wilt. I'm looking at this. I'm trying to see if that Vince has an unsellable sticker, and it doesn't look like he does. It also doesn't look like your Scottie Pippen has an unsellable sticker, and your AK. So you have a few sellable cards, AD as well. You have a good amount of sellable cards, and you have 40k MT. I'm going to be honest, sell Vince Carter and play Steve Smith. Just do it. So he gives you more shooting than Vince. He's a better shooter, and he's a better defender than Vince. He's 2 inches taller than Vince. I understand he's not the athlete or playmaker that Vince is, but he's free. Vince is not. Just sell Vince and buy Steve Smith. That's going to literally make you probably 50. Well, make sure you grade Vince first, but then sell him. You'll probably get 50,000 MT. You'll probably be looking at 90,000 MT after you do that. With that 90K, do you really want to upgrade your squad in any other areas right now? I honestly think you save it. I really do. I think you save the MT. I just think you put Steve Smith in, and I think you save the rest of the MT. You could downgrade Pippen to somebody cheaper, a more budget option if you wanted to, but AK and Pippen are incredible 3s, and I think having that type of defense is great in your lineup. I just think Steve Smith has to play over Vince, especially because you can sell him. You need to get that MT back and maximize your MT stack, considering I do think Steve Smith is as good or better than of a card than Vince, to be honest. And the rest of your squad is great. I mean, your squad will really compete at a very high level. It's a really good team. 90,000 MT will be nice to have, though, and I don't think it's going to hurt your team. It might even help your team to put Steve Smith in there, gain you some MT, and help you to be better set up for next week's content, or I guess this weekend's content, whatever the case may be. And yeah, that is that. That's going to do it for this episode. I hope you all did enjoy. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.